Have you ever wondered why Portugal is not a part of Spain? Despite their geographical proximity and shared history, Portugal has always maintained its independence from its larger neighbor to the east. In this video, we will explore the reasons why Portugal has remained a separate country from Spain. Our thesis statement is that Portugal's unique history, culture, and geography have all contributed to its distinct identity as a separate nation. We will discuss Portugal's early history, its role in the Age of Discovery, and its cultural and linguistic differences from Spain. By the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of why Portugal stands alone as a proud and independent nation. Smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and become a part of our adventure squad. Portugal and Spain share a long and complex history. Picture this: Spain and Portugal are like siblings, each with their own unique strengths. Spain is the bigger and wealthier nation, while Portugal is a small nation tucked away in the corner of Europe and supported by one of the biggest commercial empires in the world. These Iberian brothers have their fair share of squabbles, just like any siblings would. Spain, the overbearing big brother, keeps trying to invade, creating unease among the Portuguese. But it's not all doom and gloom. Together, they carve up the world and embark on a colonization spree. They mostly respect one another and channel their energies outward, building awe-inspiring empires. Now, imagine the Pope stepping in like a wise father with the Treaty of Tordesillas, keeping the peace between these two powerful siblings. Under his guidance and with the influence of the Church, they maintain a sense of mutual respect and uphold shared principles, allowing Christianity to spread across the globe. It's not a stretch to imagine a united Portuguese-Spanish empire, as their languages, cultures, values, geography, and histories are so closely intertwined. Let's take a trip down memory lane and explore the history of the Iberian Peninsula. It all began around 300 BC with the Phoenicians setting up trading posts and sharing this secret with the Greeks. The Romans caught wind of it and invaded, overpowering the Celtiberians, Lusitanians, and everyone else who called the land home. Fast forward a bit, and the Visigoths, a Germanic tribe, took control of the peninsula, making Braga their capital. But it wasn't long before Muslim armies swept in and conquered much of Spain, leaving only the northern mountains untouched. Enter the Reconquista, a period where Christian nations gradually reclaimed the peninsula. By the 15th century, four key kingdoms emerged: Castile and Leon, united since 1230; Aragon, ruling eastern Spain, southern Italy, and the islands in between; Navarra, dominating the northern peninsula; and Portugal, with control over Atlantic islands and parts of Brazil. Strategic marriages and alliances shaped the political landscape, eventually uniting all territories into the Kingdom of Spain, except for Portugal. The Portuguese, honoring their brave ancestors who resisted the Romans, proudly identified as Lusitanians. Throughout history, they fought to maintain their independence from the Spanish realm. Time and time again, Spanish forces tried to breach the border and seize the capital, only to be met with defeat and humiliation. The clever and resourceful Portuguese always seemed to stay one step ahead, proving that brains can indeed triumph over brawn. In the 16th century, Portugal was one of the world's most powerful empires, with a vast colonial network stretching from Brazil to Angola to India. But then, in 1580, the Habsburg dynasty took control of Iberia and Portuguese colonies abroad, bringing Portugal under Spanish rule. And so began a tumultuous period in Portuguese history filled with political intrigue, shifting alliances, and a stubborn determination to remain independent. Despite having three different Philips on the throne, none of them was able to win over Portuguese people. At first, the Spanish rulers established the Council of Portugal to ensure a measure of autonomy, and the Portuguese were granted significant power in the country's politics and economy. But it quickly became clear that the Spanish were not the best at delegating authority. In fact, the Portuguese proved to be rather inept at their appointed tasks, and the once proud empire began to falter. To make matters worse, Portugal's enemies became Spain's enemies too, including longtime ally England. The death of King Philip II in 1598 only confirmed the Portuguese people's fears that the union was not effective. When Philip III took the throne, it was clear that his loyalties lay with Spain. He rarely visited Portugal and showed little interest in the country's affairs. As taxes increased and tensions flared among different Portuguese communities, support for the union began to wane. The Spanish crown had big plans for Portugal, hoping to make them financially and militarily responsible for Spanish wars, but the Portuguese were getting none of the benefits, only the costs. As for foreign conflicts turned into domestic hardships for both empires, tensions only grew. But then, in 1640, a revolt broke out in Catalonia, at the other end of the peninsula, and the Portuguese saw their chance. They immediately crowned João, Duke of Bragança, as king with support from England and France. And from there it was on. The Portuguese Revolutionary War raged on for years with small border fights and major battles alike. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Portuguese generally emerged victorious. They had a powerful motivation, a fierce desire to remain independent and sovereign, and in the years that followed, they proved that they were more than capable of holding their own against their former Spanish rulers. Today, Portugal stands as a proud and independent nation with a rich cultural heritage, stunning architecture, and a thriving economy. The Portuguese people's determination to resist Spanish influence and maintain their unique identity has left an indelible mark on their country's history and continues to inspire people all over the world. The roots of the conflict between these two nations can be traced to the 12th century when the first dynasties were established. From then on, Portugal and Spain engaged in numerous battles and political maneuvering, with each seeking to assert its dominance over the other. But the conflict between Portugal and Spain continued even into the 20th century, with Spain seriously considering invading its neighbor not once but twice. The first attempt occurred during World War II when Hitler and Franco met to discuss their plan of attack. However, the plan never came to fruition due to Franco's overreaching demands and Hitler's focus on other matters. The second attempt came in 1974 after the Carnation Revolution, when Franco was worried about the rise of left-wing groups and the Communist Party in Portugal. But this time the Americans put a stop to the plan by refusing to give their approval. Interestingly, the old Iberian Union did not have its own flag. Instead, it used the flag of the Habsburg dynasty, which seems somewhat unfair. In light of this, I have taken the liberty of creating some alternate flag designs which you can check out and let me know in the comment box below which one you prefer. But despite the long and often contentious history between these two nations, there have also been periods of cooperation and mutual benefit. Portugal and Spain are both proud and independent nations, each with its own unique cultural identity, and they have significantly contributed to the world in areas such as art, cuisine, and music. Despite the occasional conflicts, both nations continue to exist and thrive, proving that even long-standing adversaries can find a way to coexist peacefully. Many Portuguese people believed that they were under Spain's occupation rather than being a part of a single country, despite the Habsburg Emperor's efforts to promote equality and fairness. In hindsight, it's clear that the Habsburgs favored Spain too heavily, which ultimately doomed the union. Had the monarchs done a better job of protecting Portuguese interests abroad and establishing a more equitable relationship between the two nations, the union might have worked, or at the very least, lasted longer. Despite the challenges, it's important to remember that Spain never actually conquered Portugal, even during the turbulent Napoleonic era. And that's a testament to the resilience and determination of the Portuguese people, who refused to be subsumed into the greater Spanish Empire. So while the Iberian Union ultimately failed, it's important to remember that Portugal and Spain have both significantly contributed to world history and culture in their own unique ways. And who knows, maybe one day they will find a way to work together more effectively, building on their shared history and cultural connections. Given their shared history and cultural similarities, do you think Portugal and Spain would be stronger as a unified nation? Or is it better for them to maintain their separate identities and sovereign status? What benefits and challenges might come with either scenario, and how might they affect the future of these two great nations? Please let us know in the comments section below. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more upcoming videos.